The news soon reaches Elizabeth.
How could a worse choice be made for your honor than in such haste to marry a subject who, besides other notorious lacks, public fame has charged with the murder of your late husband?
Burleigh and the Scottish lords used Darnley's assassination to accuse Mary and Bothwell of adultery and murder, declaring them morally unfit to rule.
She feigned herself to be forcibly taken by him and then married this murderer, giving him greater estates than ever she gave her own husband.
She could now be completely rubbished as a woman of any status, any pretensions or rights to royalty. She's a whore, she's a murderess, she's an adulteress. You know, what more do you want?
Scots think their nation dishonored, the Queen shamed, and country undone. She is now in utter contempt of her people, and so far in doubt of them herself that without speedy redress, worse is to be feared.
With the Scottish lords gathering their armies against her, Mary realizes she has no chance. She surrenders herself in order to save Bothwell. Perhaps she did love him after all.
It basically ends with Bothwell offering to fight the lords in single combat. At the last moment, Mary stops it. She wants to try and end the thing with non-violence. So she proposes that Bothwell be allowed to escape and not to return. And she will go, with the lords.
Bothwell flees to Norway, and Mary is paraded as a trophy through Edinburgh.
She's brought back to Edinburgh as a captive, dressed in very ordinary clothes, not the great robes of a queen, with the Edinburgh mob howling at her.
Burn her. Burn her. She is not worthy to live. Kill her. Drown her. Or so I'm told.
Of course, Burleigh is, of course, just rubbing his hands with glee. Now Scotland is in chaos.
But in England, Elizabeth is having none of it. First, she throws her support behind Mary.
You have a good neighbor, a dear sister and a faithful friend. You shall not lack my friendship or power for the preservation of your honor in quietness.
You don't rebel against an anointed queen. That's a red line for Elizabeth. So she's always going to support Mary against the lords who are undermining her sovereignty.
Then Elizabeth threatens war against the Scottish lords.
You have no warrant, by God's or man's law, to act as superiors, vindicators, or judges over your prince. Whatever disorders you gather against her. If you continue to keep her in prison, or touch her life or person, I will not fail to revenge it to the uttermost.
Rather than fight Elizabeth, the Scottish lords imprison Mary on an island in Loch Leven and force her to abdicate.
They show her the documents, she reads it through, she doesn't want to sign it, they threaten to slit her throat.
If I did not sign this letter, they would have taken me from Loch Leven, and as they were crossing the lake, would have thrown me into it, or secretly conveyed me to some island in the middle of the sea, there to be left unknown for the remainder of my life. They advised me to sign, for if I did not, they would cut my throat.
You don't imprison a woman like that and expect her just to, keep her composure. So they just brutally wear her down. Of course, she also has to fear, she's fearing for her son. What will happen to him? They do, of course, say that, well, he will be crowned king.
Mary will never see her infant son, James, again, but she can ensure he'll be king. On July the 24th, 1567, Mary signs the letter of abdication. She is now a queen without a country.
Mary was in a pretty bad mental state. It's a reminder of the problem of Mary's character all along. She's not got that kind of quality of toughness, of steel, that enables monarchs to rule in very difficult circumstances. She panicked, hared off down to Galloway, and fled to England.
Her Majesty lost all courage and took so great fear that she never rested till she was in England, thinking herself of refuge there.
Mary will never return to Scotland. Her last hope is with Elizabeth, a woman she has never met.
I am now completely forced out of my kingdom and driven to such straits that next to God, I have no hope but in you.
She'd believed Elizabeth when she'd offered her support, when she'd expressed her love for her sister queen. And so she took her at her word, and the result was disaster for Mary.
Instead of a royal welcome, Mary runs straight into a trap. Burghley has her immediately placed under house arrest.
Burghley makes sure that Mary's locked up straight away. And, around her are put people whom he knows are loyal to the Protestant cause and to him.
When rude Scotland vomits up a poison, must fine England lick it up for a restorative?
From the moment Mary sets foot in England, he wants her dead.
Mary tries to meet Elizabeth face to face so she can clear her name.
If it please you that I come to you in private, I can tell you the truth against all their lies.
When it is proposed yet again that Elizabeth and Mary meet, the English Queen gives the excuse that she cannot meet her cousin because Mary is still embroiled in the scandal of Lord Darnley's murder. And until her name has been cleared once and for all, the English Queen cannot be seen to meet her.
If you find it strange not to see me, you will see that it would be malaise of me to receive you before your justification. But once honorably acquitted of this crime, I swear to you before God, among all worldly pleasures, meeting you will hold the first rank.
Now that Mary is actually in England, Elizabeth isn't so friendly, as Mary realizes.
I see how things frame evil for me. I have many enemies about the Queen, my good sister, who do all they can to keep me from her.
She's reduced to making empty threats.
I have made great wars in Scotland, and I pray God I make no trouble in other realms also.
Have some consideration for me, rather than always thinking of yourself. I assure you, I will do nothing to hurt you, but rather honor and aid you.
The question becomes, what's to be done with her? And for this, of course, Burghley needs some evidence.
Burghley's spies intercept encrypted letters from Mary's Catholic supporters, which show that they are plotting to put her on the throne.
Now, Mary really is a potential threat. Now, whether or not she is trying to get Elizabeth's throne, other people are trying to get it and put her on it.
Mary denies any part of it.
I never wrote anything concerning that matter to any creature. And if any such writings be, they are false and feigned.